pleasure to have the Airports Authority invited to this important symposium of developing Tobago as a clean, green, safe, and serene society. My duty this morning is to explain in detail some of the functions of the Airports Authority in terms of border safety and security. The Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago is a statutory body by the Act of number 49 of 1979, and we fall under the Ministry of Works and Transport. One of the many roles and functions of the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago is to provide efficient, secure, safe, and effective aviation services to Trinidad and Tobago and the regional and international traveling public. This can only be achieved through the coordination with various agencies involved in the airport system. All agencies within this system must ensure that they remain compliant with statutory safety and security regulations to meet or surpass local and international requirements or benchmarks, thereby ensuring safety and security within the aviation industry. The picture on the screen shows the old Crown Point International Airport, and this is where we came from, way back up until 1985. This is what our airport terminal facility looked like. And this is just an aerial view of that facility. The aircraft that you see on the ramp at that time was what was called a TITAS aircraft, Trinidad and Tobago Air Service. In those days they say, take ticket and suffer. This is the present facility that we operate out of right now, and since 1985 we have been operating out of this facility. We have been making a lot of headlines lately in the media. Nevertheless, we are still committed to what we do in terms of safety and security. And at the end of the day, we do have the hearts of the traveling public close to us to ensure that we provide the service that we are supposed to. This is a model from 2004, this picture, and this shows where we want to go, where we are going. It's a model that I'm sure 11 years after would actually be revised, because from what we see in terms of the increase, especially in domestic travel, it does not fit into today's airport operation. So we hope that with the future development in terms of the build-out of a brand new terminal facility for A&R Robinson International Airport, we would see a design fashioned in this way and even with more upgraded facilities. Border and safety security. The International Civil Aviation Organization, known as in the aviation world as ICAO, is the body that is responsible for governing and regulating international aviation. Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory, one of the signatories of this International Civil Aviation Organization. There are 270 member states. In order to achieve this, ICAO has developed 19 annexes which governs the aviation industry. Annex 17 is the standard and recommended practices for security operations at the airport. The duties and the responsibilities of aviation security is passenger and baggage screening, which is to ensure that all passengers and baggage pose no threat to aviation security in accordance with international and national regulatory requirements. This is very important for security because security is exposed, aviation is exposed to several threats. One of the major threats in aviation is terrorism. And we would have seen in the past few days what terrorism actually does to a nation. Just last Friday and continuing, we have seen what happened in France and what continues to happen throughout the world. We have a number of radical extremist groups which put the lives of people at serious threat. And they are no respecters of persons. Terrorism has no boundaries. The weapon of the terrorist is the element of surprise. They will hit you when you least expect and where it hurts the most. And aviation security have to be prepared. And that is why when we travel, as much as some of us may not like it, even me, so when you tell me take off my shoe, take off my belt, and you want to frisk me and go through all my personal belongings, don't take it too personal, because it is all for your own safety. When an aircraft is airborne, anything that happens when that aircraft is airborne started on the ground. So if the bomb is on board the aircraft and explodes while the aircraft is in the air, or a terrorist pulls a weapon on board the aircraft, it did not start in the air. It started from the ground. So in order to tackle these threats, we have to establish certain protocols where security is concerned from the ground. Access control to ensure that all persons and vehicles entering restricted areas are so authorized to do so. The airport is divided into two areas. One is for the landside operations and one is airside operations. Persons accessing the airside, which is the restricted areas, and vehicles must be authorized to do so. And security has this responsibility to ensure that. There's general surveillance in policing and patrols, and that is to ensure that the integrity of the estate, the ramp, runway, air traffic control tower, and the navigational aids are maintained to prevent any unlawful activity. Control and monitor the issuance of the Aerodrome identification system. You would see all employees that operate in the airport wear an ID badge. Security is responsible to ensure that we control and monitor that it is only the persons who have a legitimate reason to have these badges, and they are structured that there are certain areas that carry certain colors according to the area that the person has to access. So it's not that if you have a pass that the background is blue, that you can access all areas of the airport. Those colors may only allow you to access a particular area. And security has the responsibility to control the issuance and the usage of these identification passes. Traffic management, that's the responsibility of airport security. So we have to take control of the areas that people can park and people can actually pick up and drop off and so forth. So that's the responsibility of airport security. To ensure the compliance of aviation safety and security regulations. Best practices at all times to ensure that everyone comply and we comply with all the regulations. We coordinate and collaborate with several government agencies like Customs, the police, Interpol, intelligence gathering and sharing of information, immigration, port health, planned quarantine, and the JRCC, which is the Joint Regional Communication Center, with their headquarters in Barbados, that provides information through APIS, and APIS is the Advanced Passenger Information Service. The Joint Regional Communication Center in Barbados provides this information based on several areas that they would gather information. For example, in cases like passengers that may be traveling that have communicable diseases, for example, like when we had the Ebola threat, they would be able through APIS to actually track a passenger from the point that the passenger have started to travel until the point of their destination. So through APIS, they would be able to see, even before an aircraft arrives at A.N.R. Robinson International Airport, out of an international destination, they can say to you what the pattern of travel from that passenger was like. So you can know if the passenger would have come out of a country that is affected by Ebola. At that time we had several countries like Sierra Leone and Nigeria and some other countries. So they can be able to say beforehand to the immigration authorities that this passenger is coming out of these countries, and they can literally be able to red flag that passenger. The same thing applies in cases of terrorism, that you could be able, there are certain extremist groups that are literally labeled according to the organization in which they are affiliated to. And through APIS, they can be able to track that information and pass that information onto the source country at the time, which would be Tobago, so that we can know if this passenger is a threat to the security of this country. The safety operations, we are committed to ensure that we provide the most safe navigational aids and services for aircraft operations. We have the ILS, or glide path, a localizer, and the PAPIs. The ILS is what is called the Instrument Landing System, the localizer, and the PAPIs, which is the Precision Approach Path Indicator. And these are systems that aids that are used for pilots who are landing, and especially under adverse weather conditions, so that it would make it easier for the pilot to be able to identify the runway and land safely. These are some of the instruments that we have right now. They are more modern equipment. There's one called the MLS, which is the microwave landing system, and that's a system that is used in bigger airports that actually operates on like 2 or 3 runways. Sometime in the future, we may see the need to use some of these more modern equipment. Our runway is 9,000 feet and it meets international requirements. Our runway lighting, markings and signage, and we are able to accommodate large jet aircraft like the 747 as well as the 777, which is a 777. The Civil Aviation Authority is the local regulatory body, and the Airports Authority must comply with the regulator at all times. As I said before, we have to maintain best practices. A.N.R. Robinson International Airport is one of the certified airports within the region, and we are certified by the Civil Aviation Authority in conjunction with ICAO, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization. In order, to maintain our certification, we have what is done on a yearly basis as a certification audit. So the Civil Aviation Authority would ensure that on a yearly basis that the licensing inspectors would conduct a full certification audit on the aerodrome. And coming out of this certification audit, we must show that in all areas of aviation operations that we are fully compliant with both local and international standards. After this is achieved, we are issued what is called the Aerodrome Operator's License. And that license lasts for exactly 1 year. So it's subject to renewal every time this certification audit is done on a yearly basis. Our fire service, which is aircraft rescue and firefighting, and I want to say it's we operate at category 9 at A.N.R. Robinson International Airport. And category 9 is the category where we can service any wide-body aircraft operations. So if we have an emergency, the fire service is able to respond and treat with that emergency. That the safety management system, which was the last annex that was introduced by ICAO, which governs the entire safety and management of the aviation industry. These are some of the instrument landing systems that I was explaining before. The picture on the extreme left of the screen is the localizer, and just under that picture is what the puppies look like. On the extreme right above is the ILS, Instrument Landing System, or glide path, and the picture just under is one of the signage, the taxiway signage. And you will see it marked C2911, and you may wonder what C2911 means. It's simply the taxiway. We have 3 taxiways, and each taxiway has a name. It's Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. So the C just means taxiway Charlie, and 2911 simply means if the pilot is landing from runway 29, his magnetic compass is showing 290 degrees. If he is landing from runway 11, his magnetic compass is showing 111 degrees. So we just took off the 0 at the end and we call it 2911, simple. The safety of our ramp operations, these are just some of the aircraft that operate on our ramp. We have 7 parking positions. 3 of those parking positions is designated to wide body operations, and the other 4 positions can be used by smaller aircraft like the ATRs, which Caribbean Airlines use mostly on the domestic route, as well as some of the Lear jets and the dash sheet operations and smaller aircraft. These are some of the airlines that operate at ANR: the Virgin Atlantic, Caribbean Airlines, British Airways. These are the airlines that we accommodate right now. So at this point, I want to say thank you very much for listening and for your attention, and just to emphasize the point that the Airports Authority is committed to ensuring the safety and protection of our borders. It is not a simple task, but we have to do it to ensure that Tobago remains safe, green, clean, and serene. I thank you very much. Have a good day.